Remember when online dating first started to become like a thing? Like all that excitement and nerves that came with, crafting the perfect profile and sending that first message.
Yeah, it was a whole new world, wasn't it? So many possibilities. And, let's face it, some potential red flags too,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into one woman's experience with online dating that went from exciting to really terrifying pretty quickly.
Oh, wow.
We're going to be unpacking a multi-part podcast episode where this woman, Sarah, shares her story about a guy who, honestly, at first seemed like Prince Charming.
Okay. I'm intrigued already.
Yeah, this is one of those stories that just shows how important it is to trust your gut and be aware of those subtle signs of manipulation.
Absolutely.
So to set the scene, Sarah is a single mom in her late 20s living in Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
And she talks about how she kind of felt out of place in a town where hunting and conservative values were the norm.
I see. So feeling like an outsider in a way.
Yeah, and she was really yearning for connection, especially after a tough experience with her daughter's father.
Oh, what happened there?
Well, he basically tricked her into getting pregnant and then went back to his fiancée.
Oh, wow. So there's already some baggage. There's some trust issues, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. She's pretty open about being drawn to positive attention, almost like she was trying to fill a void,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's when Doug enters the picture.
Okay, so tell me about this, Doug. What made him seem so perfect?
Mm. Well, imagine scrolling through Tinder and finding this profile that checks every box.
Okay.
Doug's profile basically screamed ideal partner, especially for a single mom in Springfield. He presented himself as this good Christian, but he had tattoos, played music, and had kids of his own.
So playing to those shared values and interests, creating that instant connection, it's a classic tactic.
It's like he knew exactly what he was doing. And get this, he was an ER trauma nurse.
Oh, wow. So a respectable profession that would probably make her feel safe and secure.
Exactly. But here's something interesting. Doug was about to start travel nursing.
Hmm. That's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
In what way?
Well, on one hand, it sounds adventurous and exciting, but on the other hand, it allows for a certain level of detachment and a lack of accountability.
That's a really good point. It's like a built-in excuse for not being fully present.
Exactly. And as we'll see, that becomes a bit of a pattern. But anyway, back to their initial interactions.
Well,
So how do they actually meet?
well, they had their first date in St. Louis, where they both happened to be for work. And it sounded like something straight out of a movie.
Really? Like a romantic comedy?
Oh, yeah. Full-on fairy tale romance,
Yeah.
fancy restaurant, outdoor patio.
Yeah.
He even serenaded her with a ukulele.
Wow.
Sarah actually texted her friend during the date saying, I think this is the one.
Oh boy. The love bombing is in full effect.
Totally. Overwhelming her with affection, grand gestures, constant compliments.
Yeah.
It's a classic way to create that intense emotional bond really quickly.
Yeah. It preys on that desire we all have to feel loved and special.
And Sarah was hooked. But looking back, there were some things that maybe hinted at trouble to come.
Like what?
Well, for example, Doug always carried a gun and a medic kit with him, even to their first date.
Hmm. The gun, maybe not so unusual, especially in that part of the country. But the medic kit, that's interesting.
Right.
It could be a way of projecting an image, like being the capable, always prepared guy. Or it could be something else entirely, but definitely worth noting.
It definitely added to that strong take-charge persona he had going on. And then there's the whole Instagram thing.
What do you mean?
Doug documented everything on social media. Every meal, every outing, everything.
Okay, that's a little much, don't you think?
Yeah, it suggests that maybe someone is more focused on how they appear to others than on actually connecting with someone.
That makes sense.
And, as the story goes on, we see this need for attention becoming even more important. So their relationship was mostly texts and calls because he was often away for work. And then we hit red flag number 1.
Okay, lave on me.
Doug brought his young son along when he took Sarah to buy a car,
Wait, what? Why?
even though they'd agreed not to involve their kids until things were more serious.
So he kind of used his child to bypass a boundary they'd set.
Exactly. And Sarah, being a mom herself, immediately connected with his son.
Yeah, I bet. He's really working that good dad image.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of image, this Jeep he had was another thing worth paying attention to.
Oh, really? What about
It
it?
was this giant, black, jacked-up monster of a vehicle.
That sounds very intentional, like he was trying to project power and dominance.
Exactly. It was all about appearances,
Mm.
about portraying a certain kind of masculinity. Later, Sarah finds out he could barely afford this gas-guzzling thing, but that didn't stop him from prioritizing image over financial responsibility.
Oh, wow. That's a big red flag in my book. It suggests a lack of realistic priorities and, again, that focus on outward validation.
Totally. And this becomes a recurring theme in Doug's behavior. Are you ready for red flag number 2?
Hit me with it.
Sarah was in D.C. for a work conference and ended up at a bar with a colleague. She tried calling Doug to say goodnight, but he just ignored her calls.
Oh.
Then some random guy at the bar started getting really aggressive with her.
Oh, that's scary, especially in a strange city.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
She ended up having to physically kick the guy off of her in the elevator. And who does she call for comfort and support? Doug, of course. But guess what?
He's still MIA.
Yep, completely MIA.
Wow. So not only is he emotionally unavailable, but he's also totally disregarding her safety.
Exactly. And when she confronts him about it later, he just brushes it off with some lame excuse that she believes.
This is how that cycle of abuse starts to take hold, you know?
Yeah.
The victim tries to rationalize the abuser's behavior, making excuses for them, while the abuser just keeps chipping away at their sense of trust and security.
It's honestly painful to hear her describe how she constantly questioned herself, like wondering if she was overreacting.
Yeah, I can imagine. But those red flags just keep piling up.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
And it's about to get a whole lot worse. But that's a story for part 2.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. Stay tuned. Okay, so we left off with Sarah feeling a little uneasy about some of Doug's behavior, but still wanting to believe the best about him. Like, where does it go from here?
Well, this is where things get really messy. Remember how Doug always used his kids as an excuse for not being able to, hang out with Sarah and her friends?
Yes, it always seemed very calculated, like he was strategically using them to avoid certain situations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one night, Sarah's out with her friends at this bar, and guess who walks in? Doug. But here's the kicker. He's not alone.
Oh no, I bet he's with another woman.
He got it. Turns out he's been seeing this other girl for a while, and Sarah's friends are furious because they actually know this other girl.
That's awful. So they feel like Sarah's been pulled into this whole mess without knowing what was really going on.
Exactly. It's textbook manipulation. It's called triangulation.
Triangulation.
Yeah. It's about creating this sense of competition and jealousy between two people so the manipulator can stay in control and avoid taking responsibility.
Wow. That's messed up.
Totally. And when Sarah confronts Doug about it, guess what his response is?
Let me guess. He blames her friends.
Bingo.
Hmm.
He tells her they're just jealous and trying to ruin their relationship.
Ugh, classic.
And the crazy part is Sarah actually buys it. She's more worried about her friends turning against her than she is about Doug's lies.
This really shows the power of gaslighting, you know? Over time, those constant distortions of reality can make you start to question your own sanity.
It's like he's slowly breaking down her sense of self.
Mm.
And remember, Sarah has that history of trauma, which makes her even more vulnerable.
Right. Trauma can create this deep need for love and acceptance, which manipulators prey on. They offer a sense of security, but at the same time, they're eroding the victim's self-esteem.
It's a vicious cycle, and it's just the beginning for Sarah. Just a couple of weeks later, Doug's back in Memphis for a travel nursing assignment, and Sarah goes to visit him. He tells her he's found a place to stay in this community living space.
Okay, I'm already getting a bad feeling about this.
You just should. At first, everything seems fine. They go to the zoo, they explore the city, they're having fun. But then one evening, Doug comes home late, and Sarah notices something on his hoodie.
What was it? Like makeup? Lipstick?
Bingo. And of course, Doug has an explanation ready. He claims he just hugged a friend who wears a lot of makeup and it must rubbed off on him.
That's ridiculous. Come on.
Right. But Sarah, wanting to believe him, pushes those feelings of doubt down. But deep down, she knows something's not right.
Yeah, it's like she's starting to recognize that disconnect between what she's being told and what her gut is telling her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's around this time that Sarah's eating disorder starts to resurface.
Oh, no. I was wondering if that would come up.
Yeah. She talks about how she used food restriction as a way to cope with feeling out of control.
That makes sense. Especially with all the chaos and manipulation Doug's bringing into her life. Eating disorders are often about control, trying to create order in a world that feels unpredictable.
And Doug is definitely making things unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
He's constantly lying, disappearing, leaving her in this emotional limbo.
So the manipulation is taking a toll on her mental and physical health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then on Halloween, things escalate even further. Sarah and her friends are at a pub crawl, and Doug, who claimed he couldn't make it because of his kids, walks by with his dog.
Seriously, the guy has no shame.
None. And this time one of Sarah's friends loses it. She confronts Doug, publicly calling him out on his lies and manipulation.
Good for her.
Right. But Doug gets enraged, grabs Sarah's hand, and drags her away from her friends.
Oh no, the aggression is becoming physical. This is really bad.
It's terrifying. He takes her back to his apartment but doesn't even let her inside. He tries to pressure her into having sex with him in his Jeep while his kids are inside.
That is just awful. He's completely disregarding her feelings, her boundaries, her safety, and to do it in front of his children, that shows a serious lack of empathy.
Sarah describes feeling like a shell of a human afterwards. Just ashamed, embarrassed, violated.
That's a normal response to trauma. You know, feeling numb, disconnected, powerless.
And the manipulation doesn't stop there. The next day, Sarah's running a half marathon. Doug had promised to be there to support her, but surprise, surprise, he's nowhere to be found.
Of course not. He's all about breaking promises and eroding her trust.
Then just a few days later, Sarah sees Doug at the farmer's market with another woman.
Seriously.
Yeah.
This guy is unbelievable. What's his excuse this time?
Get this. He claims this woman is just an old Tinder match who he agreed to be a wedding date for, and that she's just sleeping on his couch. He even invites Sarah to come to the wedding party with them.
He's either incredibly brazen or completely delusional.
I think it's a bit of both. He's so caught up in his lies that he can't even see reality anymore. And Sarah, desperate for connection and terrified of being alone, agrees to go along with it.
Wow, this shows how deep the emotional abuse has gotten. She's lost sight of her own worth, her right to be treated with respect.
It's heartbreaking to see how she kept trying to rationalize his behavior, clinging to those little moments of love bombing as proof that he could change.
And unfortunately, it only gets darker from here. So at this point, Sarah's starting to see Doug for who he really is, right? Like she's realizing he's not this Prince Charming, but a manipulative and controlling narcissist.
Yeah, she's starting to get it. But the problem is she's still so entangled with him, emotionally and physically. Remember, he's actually moved in with her.
Right. It's so important to remember that leaving an abusive relationship isn't easy. It takes time. It takes support.
And Sarah's support system is pretty shaky at this point.
Yeah.
Doug has isolated her from a lot of her friends, but then she reconnects with these old friends from high school who are part of this non-denominational church.
Okay.
And they become like a lifeline for her.
That's great. That sense of community can be so important for survivors. It gives them a safe space to heal.
Absolutely. They offer her that unconditional love and support she's been craving.
Yeah.
And they see right through Doug.
Oh, I bet manipulators often have trouble keeping up the act around people who are grounded and perceptive.
There's this one moment that really sticks out. Doug goes to church with Sarah and immediately starts asking if he can host the music hour or do the announcements.
Of course he does. Always needing to be the center of attention. Classic narcissism.
And meanwhile, Sarah's starting to find her own voice. She's reading articles about gaslighting and narcissism, and she's seeing the patterns in Doug's behavior.
Yeah.
She even suggests they go to couples counseling.
That's a big step. It shows she's trying to face the problems head on.
But Doug resists, of course.
Yeah.
He eventually agrees to see a counselor at a church, which Sarah later realizes was a huge mistake.
What was wrong with the counselor?
Well, first of all, he was incredibly cheap, like $35 a session cheap.
Really? That's unusual.
Right. And when Sarah tries to talk about Doug's narcissistic behavior, the counselor basically tells her she's making a serious accusation and needs to be careful.
Wow. A good therapist would never invalidate someone's feelings like that.
Especially when they're talking about abuse.
Exactly. This guy was clearly in over his head. And to make matters worse, Sarah catches Doug on Tinder again. Are you kidding me? He's still looking for other women while they're in counseling.
Yep. And his response is infuriating. He blames Sarah's friend for trying to sabotage their happiness. He sends her threatening texts, accusing her of jealousy and trying to turn Sarah against him.
Always deflecting, never taking responsibility.
And Sarah, caught in this web of manipulation, finds herself apologizing and making excuses for him again.
It's heartbreaking. You know, she keeps trying to rationalize his behavior, holding on to those tiny glimpses of good as proof that he can change.
But the abuse escalates. After a night out where Doug completely ignores her and flirts with other women, they get into this huge fight. Sarah tries to talk to him calmly, but he accuses her of being drunk and refuses to listen.
So he's resorting to verbal abuse to shut down any attempt at communication.
And then it turns physical. Doug throws Sarah against the wall and pins her by the throat.
Oh my God, this is terrifying. He's dangerous.
Sarah is shaken, but she still tries to tell herself it was a one-time thing, that he lost control because she was pushing him too hard.
It's so common for victims to blame themselves. It's a way of trying to make sense of something that just doesn't make sense.
But the abuse continues. Doug gets more and more controlling, isolating her from her friends, constantly accusing her of drinking too much. He even lashes out at his dog for playfully nipping his son.
Violence against animals is a huge red flag. It often indicates the potential for violence against humans, too.
And things finally come to a head at that Beatles tribute concert. Remember the one where Sarah's friend from Florida finally snaps and calls Doug out?
Yeah, that was a turning point. It gave Sarah the strength to stand up for herself.
Exactly. She realizes she doesn't have to take it anymore. She breaks up with Doug during a counseling session, and he completely loses it, storms out, throws a tantrum.
But it doesn't end there.
Yeah.
He-
This is when the stalking starts. Doug starts showing up everywhere Sarah goes.
Yeah.
The gym, her house, events with her friends. He bombards her with emails professing his love one minute and threatening her the next.
Classic stalker behavior, that mix of obsession and intimidation.
Sarah finally decides to get a restraining order. But the legal process is so slow. Doug tries to undermine her every step of the way, even bringing other women to court hearings to make her look bad.
He's still trying to control the narrative, trying to make himself the victim.
But the truth comes out. While investigating Doug's past, Sarah discovers that he was convicted of rape in 2007.
Wow, that's huge. How is that not public knowledge?
There was some kind of clerical error,
Yeah.
and his name was never entered into the sex offender registry. Because of Sarah's case, the error is discovered, and Doug is finally forced to register.
That's unbelievable. This whole system is failing to protect people.
And it gets worse. Despite being a convicted rapist and having all these reports of abuse against him, Doug is still able to keep his nursing license.
That's horrifying. How is that even possible?
Sarah and Doug's other victims try to hold him accountable, but the system just fails them. The charges are dropped, restraining orders are ignored,
Yeah.
and Doug is free to keep abusing people.
This is why so many survivors don't come forward. The system is so often stacked against them.
But Sarah's story isn't just about the horrors of abuse. It's also about resilience and healing. After breaking up with Doug, she decides to stay single for 2 years. Focus on rebuilding her life and her relationship with her daughter.
That's amazing. It shows incredible strength and self-awareness.
And eventually, Sarah finds love again, this time with a man who respects and cherishes her. She's happily married now with another baby on the way.
That's beautiful. It's a testament to the power of healing and starting over.
And Sarah's using her experience to help others. She's sharing her story, speaking out against abuse, and advocating for change.
That's so important. Breaking the silence and raising awareness is crucial.
So what can we learn from Sarah's story? First and foremost, trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore those red flags.
Absolutely. No matter how small they seem.
Build a strong support system. Surround yourself with people who love you unconditionally, people who will have your back.
And remember, abuse is never the victim's fault. No one deserves to be treated that way.
Sarah's story is a powerful reminder that abuse can happen to anyone. But it's also a story of hope and the incredible strength it takes to break free and rebuild your life.
It's inspiring. Even after going through something so awful, Sarah found a way to heal and create a better future for herself.
And if you've been affected by any of the issues we discussed today, please know that you're not alone. There are resources available to help. You can find information and support on our website.
And if you found this deep dive insightful, we encourage you to subscribe for more explorations of these important topics.
We'll see you next time.